Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him sing. All they wanna say. Let him lay me traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him sing. All they wanna say. Let him lay me traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let I be me instead of playing games. For chasing fame, let somebody sweat the lack of flames. No living my life to the fullest and shout out my halala to the fullest. Let my lungs out. I'm still rising up to greater heights as long as
Hello, bonjour and bonani. Welcome to Rise to Greater Heights Network, where you can turn your fears into greater success while seizing new opportunities. It is so significant to have a positive mindset, more especially under these circumstances. So this network has the potential to completely revolutionize every aspect of your life and career. My name is Nompumelelo Riel Gunene, and I'm going to be your host for today. So if you're watching us online, please feel free to put in the chat box where you're watching us from and what you hope to achieve from our podcast. Today, we are surrounded by greatness in the World Wide Web. We have amazing speakers who's going to share some nuggets on human rights. In Boston, Massachusetts, we have Adi Staminova. And then in Thomasville, North Carolina, we have Anthony Macaulay. And in Minneapolis, Minnesota, we have Maya Park. So at this moment, I'll just let our speakers to introduce themselves. So you can go ahead, Adi.
Hi, good morning. My name is Adi Staminova. I'm a registered nurse and also a human rights consultant and business consultant. And I'm very excited to be on your show today. I have a years of experience with healthcare, helping others, so human rights is my passion in general, and I'm particularly interested in pediatrics, helping children. So I'm very honored to be here this morning. Thank you.
Amazing. You can go ahead, Anthony.
Good morning, everyone. And Rial, such a pleasure to be on the show this morning. And I want to thank you guys so much. But I'm Anthony Macaulay. I'm in Pinehurst, North Carolina. Thomasville is my hometown, Thomasville Furniture. But I am the CEO and founder of Males of Distinction Ladies of Merit Youth Organization here locally. And we're doing some things nationally as well. But it's just a pleasure to be here. And I don't want to go into a whole lot, but I'm so grateful for the United States Institute of Human Diplomacy, and I am as well a human rights consultant and business consultant. And I just have learned so much educational things throughout this platform and this learning journey of human rights. And I'm very passionate about education and health. So thank you so much. I can't wait to get started.
Amazing. Go ahead, Maya. You are muted.
There we go. Good morning, everybody. My name is Maya Park, and I'm really excited to be here as well. I am a former educator, but my passion, my heart just kept drawing me to more social justice issues within education. And it just called me to take my knowledge and my passion and advocacy outside of the classroom, and just put my energy towards the larger social aspect of social justice. So human rights is very important to me. I'm excited to be here with you and talk about this today. So thank you.
So you can see, our viewers online, you can see that we are surrounded by greatness. But because human rights is a very, very sensitive topic to discuss, we have a disclaimer at Rise to Greater Heights Network. Rise to Greater Heights Network is only here to provide information about human rights to the public. Legal information is not the same as legal advice as to the application of law to any individual's specific circumstances. So we cannot offer any legal advice in response to specific questions. We strongly recommend that you consult a lawyer if you need help in such. So, Adi, I have a quick question for you. If you happen to have your own billboard, if you happen to have your own billboard, I can see your billboard coming down there in the busy highway near Boston. What will your billboard say?
I was thinking it would say, climbing one step at a time to the top. I do love hiking, climbing, and just remembering, to take it one step at a time, and you do eventually get to the top of the mountain. So I would just write something simple like one step at a time until the top of the mountain or something like that.
I love that. I love that. How about you, Anthony? One step
I
at a
think
time.
my billboard would say rise up. And under the bottom of rise up, it would say run into successful endeavors by understanding prosperity. And understand that prosperity doesn't mean money, just rise up.
Rise up.
Yes.
I love that. I love that.
Yes.
Rise up, take one step at a time, rise up. Wow, I love that. How about you, Maya? What will your billboard say? I can see it coming down there in the busy highway of Minneapolis. What will it say?
Yes, I think I would like it to say to always remember to come from a place of love. I think that it helps guide me, especially when my emotions take over, and no matter who I'm, it causes me to pause and allows me to get to a better place before I proceed.
Wow, from a place of love. I love that. So good people, just stay tuned for all this because they're going to share some nuggets. So our first speaker for now, it's going to be Adi Stamenova. Adi Stamenova is a registered nurse finishing up her master's in nursing degree to be a family nurse practitioner. She has a Bachelor of Science degree in biology with neuroscience. And she also has a health concentration from Garden College and an associate in nursing from Swedish Institute College of Health Sciences. She also has the MSN FNP she also did MSN FNP program at Simons University. Adi has taken multiple courses to expand her expertise from the U.S. Institute of Diplomacy and Human Rights, such as human rights, diplomacy and etiquette, business consultation, and human trafficking prevention. She is well-versed in multiple languages and cultures, bilingual in Bulgarian and English. Adi often volunteers her time helping her community, especially children with disabilities. She is currently working on taking her career to the next steps and has been working on studying for her medical boards, doing research, and on her consulting business. So kings and queens, please join me and welcome Adi Stamenova.
Hello, thank you so much for that introduction. Again, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm very excited. So going off of the introduction, yes, I'm very passionate about helping children, especially those with disabilities. And I do work part-time at a school district, doing both teaching and nursing. So I'm very passionate about helping kids. So going off of that, I'll start with introducing today's topic of Article 2 from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is no discrimination. And I will go ahead and read that article. So it says that everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origins, property, birth, or other status. Furthermore, no distinction shall be made on the basis of political, jurisdictional, or international status of the country or territory to which a person belongs, whether it be independent, trust, non-self-governing, or under any other limitation of sovereignty. So in a nutshell, what that means is that no matter what a person's status, varying from socioeconomics, race, religion, color, whether your hair is green or blue, it does not matter. We are all the same species. Every single person is Homo sapiens. And at the end of the day, no two people share 100.0% of the same DNA. So everybody is a unique individual, and it's important to embrace that and be aware that the Declaration of Human Rights applies to every single human. As long as you are not an alien, it does apply to you. And going further off of that is that these articles are a guidance, and we as human rights knowledgeable personnel, we are aware of what that means. So this guidance can help people to make changes. They are not laws. And on the show, as it was noted, we're not giving any legal advice, but we just want to make people aware of that specific right and what it can mean. So I just wanted to briefly touch upon this article in general and go over a past implication of this, and specifically because I love working with kids with disabilities. One example of an application of this would be the Americans with Disability Act of 1900, which was edited later in 2008 and came into action in January 2009. This act makes sure that people with disabilities are able to be members of society, productive at the same level as anybody else. And even going off of that, there's much work to be done. There was a section added about, let's say, pregnant people in the workplace, non-discrimination against women who may be pregnant. And those are just some examples of how important it is to be aware of these rights, because then they can be applied to actually changing legislature. And the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is another example where that one lists the other categories such as race and religion, and it states, you know, no discrimination based off of those factors. And it's really important to note that, again, even though these laws have been passed, there's still a lot more work to be done going forward in the future, because just because something's written on a piece of paper does not change people's mindsets or cause them to be non-discriminatory. So going into that, there's many other implications of how you know, human rights have been applied in the United States, at least. I cannot speak for the rest of the world, but there's been, for example, an age discrimination and employment act, which, you know, you cannot discriminate based off of people if they're over the age of 40. And again, the civil rights movement was a big one. And in the United States, the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act of 2008, which is a very interesting one for people's health information in this country, that going off of, let's say, race, people were found to have more, sorry, the chat box is going off, be more, let's say, more prone to have sickle cell disease if they're African American. And insurance companies were trying to bank off of this, and certain states were trying to hone in on the race factor as well as the genetic information. So laws were passed then to help protect people's rights in that manner and not have that sensitive, whoops, sorry, the chat box, sensitive health information be available where it can be used to, you know, raise people's insurance, for example. So it's very interesting stuff like that. And even going off of the genetics laws about, you know, people with disabilities. The United States has a, you know, history of just different laws on that aspect, connecting genetics and, let's say, you have a child with a disability, that implication. So it's really, really important to be aware going forward of this right of no discrimination and what it really means, because there's much more work to be done. And especially with, I have a background in science, so going forward with technology and science and medicine, you know, it's important to be aware that every single person is a human being. There should be no discrimination based off of anything, really. And if anyone ever feels a different way and feels that they're not getting their other human rights, which we'll go over on this show, it's important to be able to be an advocate versus activist in order to make changes. You can also be both. It's really important to be vocal about things that matter, but also help to make those legislative changes so they can help us, especially going forward with the pandemic. It's important to be aware of the fact that we do still have rights about race, religion, and our freedoms. So yes, thank you. And I think some of y'all are freezing up. I don't know what's happening.
We can hear you.
Okay, a lot of you had frozen screens, so I wasn't sure if anyone was here. So yes, thank you. And I do have a handout for anybody interested with a little bit more information, because I don't have time to go over all of this today, but just about the different ways, discrimination has been implemented in the past, and moving forward, there's still a lot more work to be done in the future. So if anyone would like the handout, my email is Addie Stamanova, just how it's written in my Zoom, 91@gmail.com, and I can email that to anybody interested in more information. So thank you.
Adi, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for describing how discrimination looks like and how Article 2, like you've mentioned, no discrimination, how it can help to be implemented when it is considered for laws. And thank you also for highlighting the difference between being an advocate and being an activist, because many people, they get so confused around that area. So thank you, Adi. Thank you for sharing such a timely, needed message.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
No problem. So our next speaker is gonna be Anthony McCauley. Anthony B. McCauley was born and raised in Thomasville, North Carolina. He is the founder and CEO of MAILS, Making Achievable Life-Enhancing Strides of Distinction Ladies of Merit Youth Programs, and he's also the owner of Gravity Drone Services. Anthony is a two-time best-selling author. He has self-published 3 inspirational books and collaborated with authors nationally for a total of 7 books. He is a lifelong mentor that uses his talents to share his experience, strength, and hope to today's youth. He has completed training at Monmouth University in West Long Branch, New Jersey, as a drug and alcohol treatment specialist. In 2017, Mr. McCauley began working with young boys and girls, where he saw the need for more assistance to be given to help support families and communities, with focuses on building self-esteem and improving the well-being of students who needed guidance, support, as well as role models. As Mr. McCauley began to research juvenile justice and those males who find themselves making bad choices, he saw that he can use his success building and character development talents to bring together males to help those affected by making poor life decisions. So kings and queens, please join me and welcome Mr. Anthony McCauley.
Wow, thank you so much. And I'm just going to go ahead on and get started. And first of all, I just want to thank again the U.S. Institute of Diplomacy and Human Rights for the training that I've received. And, when coming up in school, no one took the time to tell me about the 30 basic human rights. And recently, as dealing with my young men in the community, I am really, really finding out that I had to find out what the definition of human rights was. So human rights are inherited to all human beings, regardless of nationality, sex, national or ethnic origin, color, religion, language, or any other status. They cannot be given or taken away. Human rights cannot be given or taken away. They are the foundation for freedom, justice, peace in the world. Human rights are formally and universally recognized in all countries through the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was adopted in 1948. Since that adoption of the UDHR, many treaties have been adopted by states to reaffirm and guarantee these rights legally. International human rights laws set out the obligations to respect, protect, and fulfill human rights for all of us. These obligations impose specific duties upon states, regardless of their political, economic, and cultural systems, because all human rights are universal, indivisible, and interdependent, and interrelated. Equality and non-discrimination are the foundational and the cross-cutting principles in those international human rights law. This means that all human rights apply to everyone. And I'm going to be dealing in that area of the 30 basic human rights of the right to social service and the right to education. Social service, social protection is a right. The right to health is comprised of a set of interrelated essentials, elements, and principles, namely availability, acceptability, and quality, because that availability part of it ensures that states must have a social security system, however they compose it, and is available to provide benefits to address relevant impacts on livelihood. So the human right of social service, I'm going to read that. It says, everyone has the right to a standard of living adequate for the health and well-being of himself and of his family, including food, clothing, housing, and medical care and necessary social services, and the right to security in the event of unemployment, sickness, disability, widowhood, old age, and other lack of livelihood in circumstances beyond his or her control. Motherhood and childhood are entitled to special care and assistance. All children shall enjoy the same social protection. And I recently, doing all of this studying and understanding human rights consultant, I still have a hard time understanding or even wrapping my mind around the fact that poverty is a multi-dimensional phenomenon that seems to be characterized by the presence of unsatisfied basic needs that are still the result of large number of factors. At the same time, I'm feeling that poverty is the cause and consequences of all those social exclusion, which is understood as situations that impedes people from not maintaining, but attaining a minimal level of well-being and helping them develop their potential and participating on equal terms in the social, political, and economic aspects of life. There's still so much work to do because we deal with age, ethnicity, gender, and a condition of dependency and exposure to family violence. So just some of those factors that are associated with social exclusion. The right of social service is designed to reduce poverty and vulnerability by promoting efficient labor markets and diminishing people's exposure to risk and enhancing their capacity to protect themselves against hazards and interruption and loss of income. As a rule, the right to social service, Social Security, is implemented by governmental or state-affiliated institutions, regardless if they're semi-public or self-governing, because the government does not itself provide social protection in a particular sector, but it relies on services of third parties. Examples are private health or pension insurance type companies, and it must take appropriate measures to ensure that there are no undue disadvantages for specific groups of the population through restrictions on access to services. When this happens, they get into this so-called obligation to protect. And that obligation to protect is to fulfill The obligation to fulfill requires that states parties recognize the right to Social Security within their national political and legal systems. To elaborate a social protection strategy, include a plan of action, moreover, having to establish appropriate protection programs and to provide the population with adequate information about these programs. This obligation is particularly important in view of large numbers of people living in those remote rural areas in our country. Another aspect of this type of obligation is a provision of social assistance and social services, especially to poor and disadvantaged groups of the population. In spite of all this, guys, with massive efforts are still needed to ensure the right to social service becomes a reality for all of us. According to VOA News, the International Labor Organization reports that 4 billion people globally have no social protection at a time right now during COVID-19 is wreaking havoc upon our lives and livelihood. Everyone has the right to Social Security through the provision of social welfare assistance. States have to and must guarantee to everyone, particularly those that are most vulnerable members of society, in the event of unemployment, maternity leave, accident, illness, disability, old age, or other such life circumstances. States must progressively realize the right to Social Security through measures to offer protection through cash or in kind. This enables individuals and families to acquire at least essential health care. And then we start dealing with basic shelter and housing, water, sanitation, food, and all those most basic shelter and basic forms of education. The right to a Social Security has become an important factor in social inclusion, not exclusion, and cohesion and poverty reduction. Social Security must be provided on a non-discriminatory basis through the means of financing and providing society security and it varies from state to state. According to Vittana, VITTANA.org, Social Security is a pay-as-you-go U.S. program that was signed into law on August 14th, 1935. The goal of the program was to provide benefits to retirees and those who were unemployed at the time. A lump sum benefit is also paid upon death to help offset some of an individual's final costs. And here in the state of North Carolina, I don't know if this is national, but I recently last year lost my wife, and that offset death benefit thing was to help individuals' final costs. It was very minimal, but it was graciously taken, so that type of thing. In 2017, about 169 million people were paying into Social Security program in the United States. About 61 million people were collecting monthly benefits. 25% of households in the United States received a portion, if not all, of their income from this program. And the current average benefit for retired workers is about $1,400 per month. Disabled workers receive more than $1,100 per month. For a widowed mother with 2 children qualifying for the social program, the average benefit was over $2,600 a month. All programs like this have advantages and disadvantages. Some of those advantages are things as providing a monthly income to those who need it. It offers a scalable set of benefits. It offers minimums for qualified individuals. It also allows spouses to collect benefits. There's a whole lot more advantages to this as well, but disadvantages include the fact that it is not fully funded. And studies have shown by 2028, the number of people claiming benefits through Social Security are expected to exceed the number of people paying into it. Some estimates have this event occurring as early as 2022. And it's not available to everyone. Under the current system of Social Security, individuals have to earn credits to qualify for benefits. And Social Security, I'll sum this one up on human rights, the basic human rights of Social Security has played a central role in global response to the COVID-19 pandemic, healthcare workers, public officials, teachers, social welfare officers, and public servants have provided critical services in containing the pandemic and ensuring society functions. This impact of the pandemic was compounded by the shortage of social services globally. You know, so that just sums up on my human right 25 of the right to social service. Now let me get into education real quick and I'll sum it up. The right to education. Everyone has the right to education. Education shall be free, at least in the elementary and fundamental stages. Education, elementary education should be compulsory. Technical and professional education should be made generally available, and higher education shall be equally accessible to all on the basis of merit. And this is awesome. And what a state obligations are when a state has ratified a treaty that guarantees the right to education, it has obligations to respect, protect, and fulfill this right. Some obligations of this are immediate, others are progressive. The obligations to respect, protect, and fulfill. Respecting me, refrain from interfering with the enjoyment of the right. Example, states must respect the liberty of parents to choose schools for their children. Protect, prevent others from interfering with the enjoyment of the right, usually through regulation and legal guarantees. The state must ensure that third parties, including parents, do not prevent girls from going to school. That's part of this. And to fulfill, they have to adopt appropriate measures toward the full realization of the right to education. States must take positive measures to ensure that education is culturally appropriate for minorities and indigenous people and of good quality for all. And that is my spiel on the basic human rights of number 25 and 26, the right to social service and the right to education. We have a long way to go. We are still dealing with some areas in my local area that the school, I'm not going to get into it. I'm going to leave it alone, but going to start bringing things to the forefront when it comes to the right to education. So they call my kids at risk. My kids are not at risk. I call them at purpose. They just don't have anyone that they could see that looks like them within the school systems in my local area. And it makes a difference. And when they can see and somebody believes in them and lets them know that you can get your ABCs right. You can continue to go to college. You can transition. I call it males of distinction, Real, because my young boys have to transition from males into manhood. And my biggest thing with my kids right now is education is the key to your success. No one can take it away from you once you have it. So thank you so much for allowing me to be part of Rise to Greater Heights. Rise up.
Oh my goodness, Anthony, you've dropped a bomb in front of all of us. You've mentioned that the right to educate health operates directly or indirectly as a prerequisite of all other human rights recognized in the treaties. And oh my goodness, you've just dived deeper on education. Like, to me, education is a powerful and the most important tool for promoting tolerance, and as humankind's most effective tool for personal empowerment. Like you've mentioned about your kids, and yes, our kids need education. They need an education for them to get better jobs. They need education for them to stand up for themselves. So thank you. Thank you, Anthony, for sharing such a powerful message. So our next speaker, it's gonna be, welcome, Dr. Veronica Walters. Dr. Veronica Walters is an educator, author, motivational speaker, prophetic life and business strategist, entrepreneur, beauty queen, and pastor. Dr. Veronica J. Walters, affectionately known as Dr. V, she is a native of Russellville in Kentucky. She is a first-generation college graduate. Because education was so important to her, she continued on to become a PhD. Dr. a PhD holder. Dr. V is the founder and head of school at the Walters Academy for Entrepreneurship, the WAE in Tampa, Florida. Her goal is to create socially responsible millionaires with multiple streams of income and financial savvy by the time the students graduate from high school. She is an author of numerous academic papers, articles, book chapters, as well as books. Additionally, she is the author of the book, Use Your Buckets, 12 Life Lessons for Success, which was featured on Lifetime television shows, morning show, The Balancing Act, and on numerous radio stations. She has just launched her Mic Drop Academy program, teaching people how to drop the mic. Dr. V is also a much sought after speaker and speaking coach, whether it will be motivational or spiritual. She is known for bringing high energy and motivating and empowering audiences of all ages to take control of their lives and their destinies. So kings and queens, in the interest of time, please join me and welcome Dr. Veronica Walters.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to have been asked to be here and excited that I was able to make it happen. You see, one of the things that I understand is that life is for those who are willing to live it. And even though currently, personally, I'm going through a lot. My father is currently in hospice, and we are on the verge of his transition. I wanted to make a point of being present today, and I'm going to tell you why. My dad is a person who has always instilled in me the importance of living life and living it on purpose, for sowing seeds into other people, for making an impact on the world. And I know that he would not be happy if I did not show up here today. You see, when we look at human rights, I want to say this because I want us to understand that when the Human Rights Declaration says that no state gives you these rights, no one gives you these rights, they are just your inalienable rights. We can't even expect people to fight and advocate for our rights. It's up to us. It's up to us to walk in these rights. It's up to us to take the bull by the horns and create what is needed in order for our families, in order for our communities, in order for people to be able to walk out what has already been given to them and not given by man. So with that said, let me say this, I appreciate the Human Rights Declaration, but it means nothing if we don't personalize it. So I'm going to share with you some things about how we can personalize these in our life and in business. So let's start with life, right? Growing up, I grew up in a 3-room house with no indoor plumbing, and I was a first generation college graduate. Why did I do that? How did I do that when no one in my family had done it before? Something inside of me told me that I was destined for greatness. And I grabbed the bull by the horns and I said, I don't know how I'm going to do all this, but I know I'm supposed to do it. And so I literally took a step. What was that? I got my high school diploma. I knew that I should go to college. That's what they said, that I should go to college. And I'm going to tell you, my views on education have slightly changed as I've lived life. Because what I've realized is that there are some traps that are set in education. And we've got to be very aware of the traps, with everything that looks good, it's not necessarily good. So I learned that education is key, but not just education in the traditional sense of the word. Education in terms of knowing who you are. Once you know who you are, no one can tell you who you can be. See, I knew who I was, and I would not allow anyone to tell me what I could or could not do. I made the decision that I would establish the bar for myself, that my only competition would be me, and that there would be nothing that anyone could stop me from doing that I set my mind to. So even when I was at the University of Kentucky and I was going to the student center and this white guy said, "Get out of my way, nigger," I knew even then that no one could stop me and tell me that I didn't have a right to be on that campus, because I did the work. I did what I needed to do. I was there, and no one was going to stop me from accomplishing my goals. So I chose not to allow racism or sexism to stop me from doing what I needed to do. I say this because so often we get in the trap of victimhood, victimization. We're so caught up in being a victim that we say, oh, they took my rights away. Listen, there's some things you just can't take from me. And if you take the material things, you'll never be able to take my spirit. You see, that's the thing that allowed us as African descended people to survive the tragedy and travesty of slavery. Something inside of us, just burned so strong that it wouldn't allow us to quit or to give up. See, I look at the things that have happened throughout the world and see my commitment is to giving people the tools necessary to change their own lives. I'm not interested in just handing people fish. I'm not interested in having a fish fry, but I am interested in teaching people how to fish so that no matter what anybody does, that they are not limited by the actions of others and they don't find themselves caught in the trap. So I'm talking about life and I'm talking about business because I believe entrepreneurship is the key. See, if other people aren't writing your paycheck, they can't tell you what to do. You see, I live in a very real world of the academy, and currently I'm teaching at colleges, and they have some requirements, right? So one of the requirements is that you need to have the vaccination. And if you don't have the vaccination, there are certain additional things that you're going to have to do. I'm vaccinated. I made that choice, but it was my choice to make. See, I don't feel like anyone should have the right to make me do anything, right? As it relates to my health, as my safety and my security. But I made the decision that I was going to get the vaccination, but I'm not interested in trying to make everybody else do it. So I understand that in my role as an educator, I teach my college students, you don't have to wait till you get a degree to pursue your purpose. See, Brother Macaulay, you're absolutely correct. If you don't know your purpose, if you don't know what you're called to do, people can have you doing anything. But once you know what your purpose and your destiny is, and you live that and you walk that out, no one will be able to stop you. So I started a school because I felt like the educational system was flawed. There were fundamental flaws. We're looking at the prison, the school to prison pipeline, and we're talking about the school to prison pipeline, but who's going to disrupt the pipeline? Who's going to disrupt the pattern? Somebody's got to be willing to take a risk and step out and do something. I'm just not the type of person to talk about it. I believe that you need to be about it or shut up. All of this talk is great, but what are we doing? And that's why I love what's happening right here. We're talking about real actionable steps that people can take to create change in the world. And if you're going to truly be a change agent, you can't talk about it, you have to be about it. So I developed the school system that I felt like our children needed, a system where they could decide to go on to higher education if they chose to, but there were other avenues for success. The reality is everyone is not going to go to college, and you don't have to. The most successful people in the world didn't go to college. How about that? Or they didn't graduate. So what does that say about the traditional route that we have forced people into for success when it comes to education? It creates a lot of debt. It creates bondage. Now you got to work on a job to pay a student loan bill for a degree you got 30 years ago. I'm just talking about me. I'm not talking about anybody else. Like I still have student loans, right? I'm still paying student loans off, right? Because I got a PhD. But I needed the PhD in order to be in the position I am now so that I could see all the things that I've seen in the educational system. So I know all the realms of the educational system from preschool all the way through that doctorate. I've done it all, dealt with it all, and I know it all. And I'm not saying I know it all in the sense that I know everything, but I'm saying I've seen the system and I see the flaws in the system. You see, so I decided to create a school where I could teach young people how to take control of their life. 6th to 12th graders. Can you imagine this? I just want you to imagine for a moment going to school and discovering your purpose, discovering that your purpose was to advocate for human rights because you have a heart for people. Going to school and learning how to create a business that could support that thing which you desire to do. Going to school and learning from professionals who've had the pitfalls and they've learned from the ups and downs of life and they share those with you when you're in the 6th grade so that you don't have to go through the things that they went through. You can literally learn from the mistakes of others. You can literally tap into the power and the experiences of those who have gone before you. And you can use that information to make a change in the world. See, I don't want to just create entrepreneurs. I want to create socially responsible entrepreneurs who understand that the power of entrepreneurship is being able to impact the lives of other people, create solutions to problems. Because as long as you create solutions to problems, you'll never be broke in your life. We've got to learn that we are the solution. And there's no problem that exists, as a friend of mine always reminds me, where the solution is not in the problem. So when we talk about human rights and we talk about the problems of human rights, the solution is in the problem. The problem is people and the solution is people. We are the solution. And so I never want us to get so focused on the problem that we don't understand that we're the solution, because the moment you realize you're the solution, then you can step in and do something. You don't feel like I'm helpless. It's hopeless. What am I going to do? I may not be able to change everybody. I may not be able to change the minds of every racist, every sexist, every homophobic person in the world, every person who's stuck in religious dogma. I may not be able to do that, but do you know what I can do? What I can do is interact with the people that I come into contact with. And I can love them with a love that is unconditional, that doesn't judge them, that is not judgmental, that is not discriminatory, but I can have real conversations and talk about real experiences and share real solutions. Because at the end of the day, the entire issue boils down to economics. So if we don't understand economics, will never solve the problem. And some people may say, well, but it's not just economics, but it is economics. Racism is rooted in economics. Sexism is rooted in economics. Religious dogma is rooted in economics. All the things that we're talking about is rooted in economics. So when you change the economic system and you create a level playing field, it changes the game. So what did I do? I learned how to trade on the foreign exchange market because it's a level playing field. I learned the importance of understanding stocks and how the stock market moves. And I made a decision that I would teach these children financial wisdom, financial knowledge. They would learn how to trade, because guess what? If they trade on the foreign exchange market, there's $6 trillion a day that flows through the foreign exchange market, 5 days a week, $6 trillion. That no one can stop you from making. No one can keep you from having. So why are we fighting over little pieces of a pie when we can make our own pie? And I believe that that is the solution. Yes, we are all endowed with certain unalienable rights. These are rights to have life, liberty, and security. We've got to take responsibility for grabbing the bull by the horns and creating that life for ourselves. So it doesn't matter what country I'm in. It doesn't matter who is the president or who is the ruler. I can tap into something that takes me to the next level, regardless of what's going on around me. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to put blinders on and get that singular focus. If you want to walk out a life where we live our human rights out, if we want to walk out a life where we live our purpose and our destiny, then we have to be about it and not just talk about it. I thank you guys for allowing me some time. I thank you for what you're doing. What you're doing is amazing. Continue to be great. Continue to be the incredible leader that you are, because it is what is necessary and it is what is required. And I'm honored and humbled to have had the opportunity to be on this panel with all of these amazing leaders. It takes us coming together, like minds, connecting, creating an unstoppable force, because that's what we are. Because though human rights is the problem, it's also the humans that are the solution. Thank you so much.
Wow. Dr. Walters, oh man, you've mentioned that no one can ever stop you from accomplishing all of your goals. And you've mentioned that what the solution is within the problem. So we are the solution. And oh my goodness, I believe that our viewers have been really, really motivated from this message. So thank you so much for sharing such a profound message. Thank you. So to our viewers online, please feel free. If you have any questions to any of the speakers, just drop that question in the chat box. We will attend to your question at the end of the podcast. All these speakers have shared amazing nuggets on human rights. So what's your excuse now? You've got all the information that you just needed. So if you have any questions to any of the speakers today, just drop it in the chat box. We're going to attend to your question at the end of the podcast. So I am going to be the next speaker right now. Whew, I'm so much on fire. I'm going to be the next speaker right now. But before I speak, I'm just going to share my bio with you, and then I'll come back and speak.
Nonpumelelo Real Kunene is a highly sought-after, energetic, certified Les Brown International speaker. She is the author and host to Rise to Greater Heights, a book and YouTube channel to turn your fears into greater success while seizing new opportunities. Rial is also a coach, mentor, and an MC, well known for encouraging many to rise from mediocrity into greatness. Her vision is not only to motivate, but also to empower audiences with a fresh perspective, inspiration they require to pursue success and drive sustainable outcomes in a seriously funny way. Rial believes that we are in full control of our choices. Her mission is to meet the needs and transform lives of her clients and her audience. Rial's book, Rise to Greater Heights, has inspired and empowered many to pursue their personal and professional passion to become go-getters. Her goal is to study your current situation, identify limiting beliefs, then design a plan of inspired action to empower you to achieve specific outcomes in your life. Rial Kunene wears many hats as a professional certified sales manager, CEO, strategist, certified travel counselor, trainer, esthetician, philanthropist, diplomacy protocol officer, international human rights analyst, and a commissioner for OAS. Following her dreams gave her purpose to see her goals through and understand that she does have everything she needs to reach her full potential. Her everyday message is that your journey to be a better person starts with you. So knowing who you are to your core will make you understand that you are the only one who can accomplish your dreams. Hebrews 11, Psalm 27 and 40. Keep her to rise to greater heights. Kings and queens, please join me. Welcome, Rial Kunene!
Thank you. Thank you. But before I continue, I just want to double check if I'm in the right platform here. How many of you with a raise of hand can say that, Rial, I have never, ever complained in life? Never, ever complained in life. You know, seemingly I am in the right platform here because, you know, sometimes in life we go complaining about everything. Oh, the weather is really bad today. Traffic was worse than expected. My family drives me crazy sometimes. Oh, the movie was really disappointing. You name it. Though whining can be a way to build an inspiration, it can also keep us from acting. And it gives excuses time to procrastinate from achieving goals. One thing I've realized is that we usually complain in the wake of a negative situation. We tend to focus more on the problem than finding potential solutions. It's always much easier to complain than to find a solution. And individuals who whine on a regular basis, they're apt to have a bad health. So next time we'll find you complaining that, why do pizzas come in square boxes? Yet they're round. And funny enough, they're cut in triangles. Does that sound like you? Yeah, please write this down. What are human rights? What are human rights? And I know all of the speakers have shared some nuggets on really what human rights are. But what if I can pose this question to you? All the speakers have shared some nuggets on human rights. What word comes into your mind when you think of human rights? You can just put it in the chat box. Human rights, just one word. What are human rights? I'll come and check on the chat box what you think human rights are. Really, with human rights are just the fundamental rights and freedoms that are all inherent to all human beings, regardless of your gender, nationality, place of residency, sex, ethnicity, religion, even your skin color. Like Eddie mentioned that non-discrimination and equality are core elements of the international human rights policies. So you can see that human rights are not just about the law. Thus, human rights are non-discriminatory, meaning that all human beings are entitled to them, and you can never, ever be excluded from your own human rights. Good people, you really don't have to see the whole staircase to take the first step, but you'll have to take the first step to get to the top. As my mentor always say that you don't have to be great to get started. You'll have to get started to become great in life. So you'll have to get started to become great in life. My everyday book says that learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, seek justice, bring justice to the fatherless, and plead the widow's cause. So get started today. Seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, and plead the widow's cause. To me, honestly, it was the death of George Floyd that made me to realize that we need to stand for a world where no one shall live in fear because of their skin color, and where the criminal justice system treats everyone fairly and equally. If you remember it very well, last year, May 25th, George Floyd died in police custody in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This 46-year-old Black man was arrested and killed after a convenience store employee called 911 on Floyd's suspicion of passing a counterfeit $20 bill. The video that was captured by a bystander, it showed George Floyd pinned face down on the ground and in handcuffs, and one of the Minneapolis officers pressing his knee against his neck as he was pleading for help. I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And finally, he fell silent. May his soul rest in eternal peace. It is so impossible not to be outraged watching that video of the Minneapolis officer pressing his knee against Floyd's neck for a period initially reported to be 8 minutes and 46 seconds. I believe that everyone is born free and has the right to life. So no one should ever be subject to such unjustified violence. Hence, I am here today to educate everyone to know their human rights. Always seek passion, good people. It's so funny how my mom and dad gave me this beautiful, beautiful name, Nompumelelo. Nompumelelo, I know many of you can't say my name, but Nompumelelo in my own language, it means mother of success. So now you can see that I am really, really challenged to chase after success. No matter what comes my way, I'll have to chase after success. If I may ask you, how many of you have dreams and goals that you want to achieve maybe in the next 6 months? I want you, as you think about your dreams and goals, to put this down. Rise to greater heights. Rise to greater heights. Good people, you need to be clear about your career goals in order for you to gain guidance on professional development. Like Dr. Walters mentioned, that no one can ever stop you from accomplishing all of your goals. And Anthony mentioned that everyone has the right to a standard living adequate for the health and well-being of himself and of his family. So good people, you really don't have to be politically involved to know about your human rights. All human beings are entitled to these rights, and you can never, ever be excluded from your own human rights. These are God-given fundamental rights and freedoms. As flight attendants always say, that put on your oxygen mask first before you assist others, because if you don't, you and the other person you're trying to help could possibly go down. So it is high time that you put on that oxygen mask on yourself first. Get to know more about human rights. Get to know when your human rights are being violated. You have a 30 Universal Declaration of Human Rights. You are born with it and you're gonna die with it. So this is a wake-up call. This is a wake-up call to get to know about your human rights. It's a wake-up call, good people. But when that alarm clock goes off, please, please don't ever hit the snooze button. Don't be like, I will wake up in the next 2 minutes. I will wake up in the next 4 minutes. You know what? Forever is a long time. Why don't you wake up, get going, know your human rights, make a difference in your community. Remember that a right is a freedom of some kind. It doesn't matter where we were born or what kind of family we were born into. We all have the internal recognition of the moral quality of one's motives and action. Like Nelson Mandela once said, to deny people their human rights is to challenge their very humanity. This message stirred something within me. So I so wish that you can just tell yourself that, you know what, I've heard it all. All of these amazing speakers have shared some nuggets on human rights. So I'll have to go out there and make a difference in my community, make a difference within myself. I'll have to know these rights. But in order for you to make that difference, you've got to be hungry. You've got to be hungry like the hungry lion in the jungle. That hungry lion in the jungle, really, it doesn't matter what kind of animal comes his way. It doesn't matter if you're that giant elephant or that small squirrel by the jungle. All that hungry lion sees in front of his face is lunch. And it's so funny because even with elephants, when they see a lion, what they do is that they run. They run because it's all about the mindset. Once you believe, you become. They already told themselves that, you know what, I am a lunch to that lion. So each and every time when I see a lion, I'll have to run. I believe that's the mindset that we need in order for us to make a difference, in order for us to rise, because I believe that we all rise together, and we rise by lifting each other up. We are only here on this planet to fix each other's crown, not to tear each other down. So go out there and make a difference, be the change. If you want to see a change in your environment, be the change. The change that you want to see must first begin with you. You know, it's so funny, when I was in the 8th grade, I was nicknamed Phoenix. I was nicknamed Phoenix after writing a composition using the idiomatic expression that says, I rose from the ashes like a phoenix bird, meaning I became successful again. Really, that English teacher, she didn't know the nickname Phoenix. It resonates with me, and it also aligns with my destiny. For those of you who don't know the phoenix bird, the phoenix is a Greek mythological bird believed to rise from its own ashes after being buried like hundreds of years ago. This immortal creature acquires new life by rising from the ashes of its own ancestor, which represents our capacity for vision and success. I want you, if you are listening under my voice, that I want to encourage you. When your world comes crashing down, wear your scars and show how a phoenix feels like to die from inside. And trust in your own capability to rise from your own ashes. Since the phoenix has to burn first, die, experience pain before resurrection from its own ashes. Please write this down. Write this down in conclusion. Resilience to greatness. Resilience to greatness. If I can be honest with you, I don't know what dreams you've set for the next six months, what goals you've set for your future. But here is one thing I know about you. You are destined for greatness. Inside of you, God has put seeds of excellence. Those seeds are supposed to grow and flourish. But many people have become crippled by their past encounters, and some have stepped over other people to get to the top. But I believe that God has a better plan for every one of us. Your objective is what you were designed for and the reason why you live today. With God, I believe that we're all destined for greatness as long as we follow his strategy. This is when the growth commences, because discovering your gift and following God's idea will make you understand that you have everything around you to reach to your full potential. My everyday inspiration, Mr. Les Brown, he once said, if you had to die today, at this very moment, at this hour, what dreams, what ideas, what visions, what goals, what skills, what talents, and what books will die with you? And Dr. Miles Monroe continued that the richest place on this planet is the cemetery, because that's where all the dreams, all the visions, all the goals, all the skills, all the talents have been buried. Honestly, I don't know about you, but with me, listening to this message, it gave me sleepless nights. And I am really proud today to introduce Rise to Greater Heights book before you. This is a comprehensive guide to turn your fears into greater success while seizing new opportunities. And I didn't stop there. Like we are talking about human rights today. I know that these are God-given fundamental rights and freedoms. So everyone should be enjoying this 30 Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So I decided to write a book on human rights, God-given fundamental rights and freedoms. And I didn't stop. We came together, 15 different authors around the world with one vision: resilience to greatness. And we wrote this book, Resilience to Greatness. I believe that this book has the potential to completely revolutionize every aspect of your life and career. And I also have a free transformation guide for you. It's available on my website, www.risetogreaterheights.com. And you're gonna be able to explore leadership, empowerment, being purpose-driven, mentorship, coaching, resilience to greatness, mental health, emotional intelligence, and many, many more topics, including spiritual growth and successful parenting. So, you know, growing up, I didn't have much because my father decided to have an early departure from this planet Earth. But I had everything because of my mama's love. And I love you so much, Mom. So I think whosoever said that the sky is the limit was wrong. From today on, I, Nompumelelo Riel Kunene, believe that the sky is our point of view. So let's all rise to greater heights. Thank you. Thank you so, so much. Thank you so much. Amazing speakers. Thank you. Thank you. So I believe at this time, feel free to share your final thoughts on human rights. And also, you can also share how our viewers can get hold of you. How can they be in touch with you? What you will have to offer for them. So any speaker can just jump in and share your final thoughts on human rights.
Hello, can you hear me? Are you able to hear me? Okay. Yes. Thank you so much for having me on your show today. Very inspirational, especially what you said about the phoenix. I'm an artist on the side, and I actually did paint a beautiful phoenix once. So it's a beautiful bird, beautiful vision, and I agree. And I was really happy to listen to the other speakers as well and learn from them. Great stuff, as I love education and love helping my community and kids. And I do believe that knowledge to everything, human rights, and also other topics about the world, you know, whether it be like astronomy about the stars and the moon, or economics, or farming, it's all, you know, any sort of education will always put you, you know, ahead of those who don't have that knowledge. So I think, especially coming up with the times we're going through, where, you know, people fight over this or that and are kind of stuck in their, you know, black versus white mindset of not seeing the whole picture of humanity, or, you know, realizing that life is so much more about living and rising and you know, doing and helping each other than being stuck in petty, yes, complaining, or, you know, it's okay to be great about social justice, but if you're not doing anything about it, then what difference are you really making? So I would like to extend my knowledge, at least in the health and biological sciences, and for anybody who would like to know more about their health rights, or information about health discrimination, any of that, or different laws that have been passed for protection of rights, such as disabilities or medical conditions, anything in the upcoming times, or even with the difficult field of genetic medicine, because that's going to be upcoming as well, with all these medical news that we see all the time. So any questions, again, feel free to email me at addiestamanova91@gmail.com. And I do have a lot more info that I just wasn't able to share in time here. So again, thank you so much. And it was really nice listening to Dr. Veronica and Anthony as well. So I'll let others speak now. Thanks.
Thank you, Addie. I just want to say this. I want to encourage people to truly take control of your life and your destiny. Never feel like anyone else has control of your rights. You control your rights. Okay, remember that. And you can find me on Facebook at Veronica Walters, at the Dr. V Walters, or at Dr. V Walters on Instagram and Twitter. Or you can go to my website, Dr. V Live, drvlive.com, and you can connect with me there. It's been an honor and a privilege, Rial. Thank you so much for your vision.
Yes, thank you so much. And I'm honored to be along here with Addie and Dr. Walters. Thank you so much, Rial. This is amazing. We spoke a little bit earlier about, before we came on, I was talking about how is it that every time as speakers, we get nervous every time, but I knew that once we got into the platform, things would change. But ladies and gentlemen, I am Anthony McCauley. You can find me at anthonybmccauley.com. That's where you will find all of my books. Also, the website, www.mailsofdistinction.com is our website. I am on LinkedIn. I am on Facebook. and all kinds of platforms. Just type in my name. I'm not ashamed anymore for you to Google me, okay? There was a time in my life where I had to change my life around, and Dr. Walters and Addie and Real, you don't know this, but I have a personal testimony, and it's a blessing for me to be sitting here in front of you today. As a man, as a Black man, I am taking on the responsibility to educate my young brothers, regardless of color, ethnicity, or the background. If any young man needs help, and I am a mentor, a national mentor, I am a local mentor, and I help others, I serve others. It is a ministry to me. I help those who have been, I believe in 30,000 chances. I believe in chances. I believe in helping those to rise up and to get themselves together. So I have a moral obligation. I know who I am. I'm sober today. That's big for me, okay? To be able to learn about those human rights. Nobody taught me this. So self-education and those things, and some of the most powerful people. I'm close to finishing a Bachelor of Psychology at 56 years old. You know, so, and I will get it, okay? I have tons of other stuff going on, continuing education, and because I have a right to, you know, and this has been amazing. Thank you so much for even reaching out to me and allowing me to be a part of this platform. And if you need me, if we need to do something else again, feel free to contact me. So God bless you all. And Real, you were starting to get to my minister side, and you started talking, and I said, okay, here we go. And Dr. Walters, I see you was biting at the chomp. So thank you. We can go there too, you know? So that's my foundation, my salvation. My firm foundation is staying on spiritual things. I have already tried it Anthony's way. But anyway, God bless you all. And thank you so much again for this time. Addie said something, nothing that we spoke about was illegal advice. It's just knowledge base that we have that's available to you all. So God bless you. Thank you so much. And rise to greater heights. Rise up.
Oh, wow. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, amazing speakers. Anthony, yes, let's rise up. Let's rise up. To all the boys out there, men, reach out to Mr. Macaulay. I believe you're not going to regret, because he's just here to make a difference in your lives. He's just here to help you to rise to the top. And I can't wait to see all of you at the top. And Dr. V, oh man, you are an inspiration. And I thank you. Thank you for taking your last minute time for being away from your father and just to be with us, to bless us with your knowledge, with your wisdom. Thank you. Eddie, I was talking to you yesterday. You've mentioned that when you were in South Africa, these cops, they just stopped you because of the color of your skin, being in a township because of the color of your skin. And you decided like, you're gonna stand for what you believe is true. And I appreciate you for being here and for making a difference to those kids with disability in your community. So I really appreciate all of you for being here today. And I believe that our viewers really have been motivated. So thank you so much, our amazing speakers. And to our viewers online, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today at Rise to Greater Heights Network, where you can turn your fears into greater success while seizing new opportunities. I hope from the message of these amazing speakers, you've been inspired, motivated, and ready to rise to greater heights. So do join us next week at the same time, same place. Thank you. Merci. Siyabonga.
Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him sing. All they wanna say. Let him lay me traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let him laugh, let him weep, let him yell, let him sing. All they wanna say. Let him lay me traps and men to pray to Jehovah, me I pray. Let I be me instead of playing games. For chasing fame, let somebody set the lack of flames. No, living my life to the fullest and shout out my halala to the fullest, let my lungs out. I'm still rising up to greater heights as long as